I've shared with us a story. There was somebody my mother told to be teaching us, doing extramural classes for us. And that guy at that point in time got admission into Unilag. It was so many years back, and joined the deeper life. And in my place then, it's not like now. I can tell you there was no Pentecostal church in my place. The only church that was not Catholic you will find is Anglican. One young lady then who was in one college of education in our place joined a group they called the Charismatic Movement. So she now came to the village and told our parish priest then that she wanted to start the Charismatic Movement. And they agreed. That parish priest agreed, and they started that group. It was just a very small group then. So within this time, this guy that was teaching us things, every time he would give me all these Kenneth Hagin books. And I've always liked reading. I didn't start reading. I've always liked reading, even when I've always liked reading. So on one occasion, I realized that I woke up in the morning and could not come out of the room, and was weeping and crying. Everybody was wondering what was wrong with me. I knew nobody talked to me, nobody preached to me. It was those books, it was Kenneth Hagin books that man was giving to me that I was reading. And that was how the born again thing came. And I was so much on fire then. I was less than 20, very much less than 20. So, I now joined the Charismatic Movement. Because that was the only thing, because the Catholic could not give you as much thing to contain what was happening. So, it didn't now take time. The Catholic priests that came to change that one, that accepted that Charismatic Movement, didn't like what he was seeing with the Charismatic Movement, and he felt that it was going to affect the Catholic Church. So they started putting all kinds of hindrances to the Charismatic Movement then, and plus some other things. The Charismatic Movement was shut down somehow. So all of us went back to our wonderful old bad life. Incidentally, in the course of that kind of living, with its level of baggages, I got myself terribly sick. Terribly sick. When you get as sick as, they take you from one hospital, they say there's nothing wrong with you, but you're not well, my body was swelling and itching and all of those things. So they started giving me some drugs that were more of that could calm me down, So it didn't take time. Before I came to the university, I went to Lagos to meet my father, and I was in the Polytechnic then. One of those days, it's not now TV is 24 hours. So one of those days, I saw some preachers. And that preacher that wrote that book, that Kenneth Hagin, that guy was giving me, and another preacher called T.L.Osborn, and another preacher called Roborts, they were having a meeting. Many of you may not know those men. They were strong, powerful men of God. And because of that affliction I had, I was watching TV. This I'm telling you, I wasn't Christian anything. There was no Christianity, anything again. So, at the point, they now began to say, if you have anything that is wrong with it. Even the drug I was supposed to take that afternoon was still on that table, my father's house in Lagos. So they began to say, you should begin to lift up your voice and begin to say, anointing breaks the yoke, anointing breaks the yoke 7 times. And I joined. And after saying that, I was instantly, instantly healed. Instant, I'm not saying this, instant. Even the drug I was supposed to take that day, I didn't take it again. But the only thing that it helped me is, it now helped put a check in my life. Because I was afraid that if I misbehaved or behaved badly, that thing will come back. So that thing kept me in check for a very long time. And over the years, even by the time one day I was telling my wife that this is what happened, it is a long time ago. And whether that thing was in a dream, because I couldn't understand how that thing happened. Until I now had somebody talking about that crusade that happened then. So by this time I now started ministry. That's the point I'm trying to make. I've started be praying for people. There was a particular day on radio, and it's something the person who works in this River State Broadcasting Corporation can be a witness to. I'm not talking about a story. I used to do some small interview programs then, and he used to be very miserly without his time. Very miserly without his time. But on that particular day, by the time I finished that interview within 15 minutes, he now told me, "Man of God, is there anything you want to say?" And God told me immediately that there was one man that was old, and that man had been sick for a very long time and paralyzed. And this thing I'm telling you, true life story, that man was old, about 70 years, he has not worked a very long time, and that word was for him, and he got well and began to move and walk. Why am I trying to connect that story? Within all this time, I had forgotten that there was a time I was not well, and some three if you like, Google this man. I'm telling you now about the real power that works in God. There's a lot of information going online now. It makes some of our hearts bleed. And as a Christian, you don't want to. You might think they are talking about this person, but it affects all of us. The target is all of us. That's the truth. That's the goal. It's as bad as it is, but the target is everybody here. So, God now began to ask me on a particular day. That thing that got into you, that thing that got into you, that was able to destroy the yoke of that affliction and that sickness, what have you been doing with it? Did you get what I'm saying? Now, what have you been doing with it? So I'm trying to let you know that there was a power that was impacted in me years before, which I never was conscious of, and I was not even remembering anything about it until maybe God now reminded me of it, and I began to put it to work and saw it began to do things. Up to now, sometimes I don't remember. So most times when I remember it, I do some of these healing meetings you see me do. So he said, you stir up the gift that is in you by what? By what? Remembrance. That gift that came into you. Stir it up. A lot of us are carrying spiritual powerful machines in us. 2 Timothy 1:6. Wherefore I put thee in remembrance that thou stir up the gift of God which is where? In thee, by the putting on of my hands. So a hand is laid on you and gifts are imparted in you. If you don't remember those gifts, they may not profit you.